Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Before we begin today's episode, I just have a real quick announcement for all of you. Today on Comic Class, we're going to be talking all about the Exiles, an older Marvel team that currently is going through a bit of a revival, and Aaron is going to talk about the original series in order to prep you for this new book. But if you find yourself interested in the original Exiles series, look in the description down below and you will find an Amazon link. That link will take you to where you can buy the very first trade, either physically or digitally, of the original Exiles series. And if you use that link, then we here at the Professor Thorgy channel will get a small portion of the profits. In fact, you don't even have to buy that Exiles trade. If you buy anything on Amazon, as long as you start by going through that link, we here at the Professor Thorgy channel will get a small portion of the profits. We're going to be making an official announcement about this very soon, but just to let you guys know, we are currently trying to head towards making YouTube our primary source of income, and if you guys want to help support this channel, one of the easiest ways to do that is simply just to shop through us. Use the Amazon links that are going to now be appearing in many of our videos to go to Amazon and check out the products that we're talking about, or just make any purchases that you want through Amazon, and you will be helping to support the Professor Thorgy channel. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Now, on to the show. Hello, everyone. It's me, Aaron, Professor Thorgy, and I will not be talking at this level for the rest of the video because I just got back from PAX East, and I am currently recovering from con crud. It never fails. Every single convention I ever go to, I always catch the con crud. So, if you hear my voice being a little bit raspy, if I'm talking at a little bit of a softer tone throughout the rest of this video, that's why. It's not that I'm not excited about today's book, it's just my body is not physically capable of keeping up with my brain on this one. So, we're just gonna be super chill on this one. Just gonna be all loosey-goosey. Maybe that's just the NyQuil talking, but okay. Today, as you could tell from that little intro that we had, we're going to be talking about the new Exiles series, but I'm also going to be giving you a little bit of a backstory on the previous Exiles series because I freaking love the Exiles. But I don't know how many people in my audience even know what the Exiles are. I mean, it came out in 2001 originally, so I think the majority of my audience might not even have been in elementary school when that book first premiered, which makes me feel horribly, horribly old. So, alright, as I said, for anybody out there who doesn't know what the Exiles are, they're a very original, unique idea. In fact, it's one of the most original ideas I've ever seen for an ongoing Marvel series, and Marvel has always been known for trying really weird new stuff. There's so many people out there these days that keep looking at all the things that Marvel is doing, and they keep going, oh, it's Marvel is being too weird and different these days. That's why Marvel is doomed. Doomed! It's not that the entire medium of comic books is currently going through an identity crisis that is trying to keep up with the ever-changing landscape of entertainment and technology, so they have to find their new footing in this current day and age. It's that Marvel is just doomed! Can't believe I got that on the first take. So yes, Marvel has never been afraid to try unique new things, but anytime that a comic book industry tries something new, it's always going to have some trouble latching on to an audience. A lot of comic book fans, they've spent years reading the same one thing over and over and over again, so you introduce something new, that's now more money that they're going to have to spend on a monthly basis over and over and over again. Yeah, it's always going to have trouble finding an audience, and that's what made the original Exiles series so interesting. It was a crazy, brand new idea full of a roster of characters who were totally new. None of them had existed before except for one of them, and that was in a mini-series that was set in an alternate reality. And this is a series that lasted for 100 issues. I cannot think of the last time that I heard of a series started after 2000 that went for 100 whole issues. That is insanely impressive. Well, what was this series about? That's the best part of all of this. It's not that the Exiles were a new team full of new characters, It's that the concept behind it is one of the craziest ideas I've ever heard for an ongoing series. This is the kind of thing you would pitch as a mini-series and then it would never be touched again, but the book was so good it kept coming back over and over and over again for years. The Exiles was a team of characters from alternate realities who had been banded together by this mysterious figure who said, yes, each of you have become unhinged from your reality. Certain events have happened, kind of like knocking over dominoes in one reality that is then affecting other realities as going from reality to reality, so that is actually going to basically wipe each of you out of existence unless you can go and fix every single one of these timelines in other alternate realities. Basically, it's kind of like a quantum leap for the X-Men, except that the majority of my audience doesn't know what quantum leap is. Oh boy. So on this team, you had Blink from the Age of Apocalypse universe, and she was really the only one of these characters who had existed before the Exiles. And she was a fairly popular character from the Age of Apocalypse universe, but she was the really only existing star power that they were putting onto this team, because all the other alternate reality versions of characters, they weren't even like alternate reality versions of Wolverine or other major X-Men characters. In fact, there even came one point in this series where they did kind of have a joke in there about getting more popular characters in the series, where they wiped out the Exiles and they replaced them with 6 different versions of Wolverine because, hey, everybody loves Wolverine. So they did have little tongue-in-cheek humor like that every now and again. They did have little wink and nods at the audience. But you had Blink from the Age of Apocalypse universe. Then you had Mimic. Yes, this B-list X-Men villain. He was on the team, but he was from an alternate reality where he wasn't a villain. He was actually a hero, and he even ended up becoming a member of the Avengers. And then you had Thunderbird, who not only was he from a reality where he didn't die, he was from a reality where he ended up becoming a horseman of the apocalypse. So you've now got this big, mutated, hulked out version of Thunderbird. And then you had Nocturne, who was the daughter of Nightcrawler and the Scarlet Witch. And she, interestingly enough, actually had appeared in another series before this one, but it was a one-shot called Millennial Visions, where they just got a bunch of artists to do one-page drawings of their alternate reality futures for the X-Men. It was a really fun, crazy idea, and I really wish that Marvel would reprint all those in one trade. But yeah, they're next to impossible to find these days, but it was such a fun idea. And she just appeared in like one panel of one big art piece that this artist did. And then they just, for some crazy reason, just said, you know what, we like her. Just pick her up and actually put her in this series as an ongoing thing. And then you had Morph, who's kind of the fun, jokey character on the team. And there were some other characters who ended up getting cycled in and out of this roster. Some of them were there for a long period of time. Some of them just went on one mission with the team, as I will talk about a little bit more in a second. But for the majority of this series' 100-issue long run, this was the team. It was a group of, who the heck are these characters? And even if you know who these characters are, they're not even the characters you know. They're characters from alternate realities, and they share nothing in common with the version of these characters that you know. And this is a series that lasted for 100 issues. And I'll admit, it did get a little bit of bump of popularity because it came out in 2001, so it was still riding high on that X-Men craze of the 90s. But the main reason why this book lasted for so long is because it had the amazing premise of we're going from one alternate reality to another, which is something crazy that we had never really seen before. But it also lasted for that long because this was a book that knew how to shock you immediately. It had one of the best first issues I've ever read in a book, because the issue just starts off, and again, as I mentioned in that opening, you can buy the first trade going to the link down below. But also, if you have Comixology Unlimited, the first issue is actually free of that original series, so you can check it out no matter what. No real risk to you at all. But in that first issue, it just starts with all these random characters just popping into a desert, and they're just like, I don't know who you are, and they each give their little short one-page backstory on each of them. And then they meet the Time Broker, the guy who is going to have them port around from one universe into the next, explains their mission to them, tells them, hey, this is why you can't go back. I can send you back, but you would immediately die if you went back. So, hey, up to you. I would take this deal to go around fixing alternate realities if I was you. So they would then accept this mission, and they had to go on their first mission into this alternate reality where mutants had all been locked up in jails. They had all been sentenced to lifetime imprisonment. Basically, imagine if humans went one step further than the Sentinel program. And then their mission, every single one of their missions was like a riddle. The Time Broker would never tell them what their exact mission was. He would just give them some vague riddle and basically said, you have to free the one who will unite the mutants and the humans. And all of them just went, Charles Xavier. Charles freaking Xavier. That's who we need to get in touch with. So they went, they found Charles Xavier, they let him out of prison, and Charles Xavier immediately tried to destroy all of them with his psychic powers. And it was like, great, time for revenge against those filthy humans. And Charles Xavier starts gathering up his evil brotherhood, and that's how the first freaking issue of this ends. Evil Charles Xavier. Yeah, that made you want to come back for a second issue. And then in the second issue, they discover, oh, the person who has to oppose Professor X is Magneto. We have to free the savior of mutant and humankind and the one who will bring them together, Magneto. Which over the past couple decades, Magneto has started to turn more into an anti-hero. Someone's like, yeah, okay, maybe Charles has some kind of a point. I guess I'll work with these humans every now and again, I guess so. But this was in 2001, Magneto was still a stone cold killer. He was a straight up villain. So yeah, this was shocking to us to read this, but the other most shocking thing about this issue was that in the first issue, we got introduced to this entire team and we were told this is the team you're going to be sticking with. They're going from issue to issue and you're going to be attached to all of them. You already know all their backstories, so you might as well learn to love them now. Second issue on this thing. Second issue, one of the characters, Magnus, who was the alternate reality son of Magneto and Rogue. So he had his father's control of magnetism, but he also had this problem where whenever he touched anything, it would start turning into metal. Yeah, he sacrificed himself. Second issue, this member of this brand new team, gone. And it wasn't this thing where it's like, oh, he's gone. Okay, well, what do we do now? The Time Broker reappeared immediately and just went, hey, that sucks that your character died, but we need exactly this many members on this team or this won't work. Congratulations, I've got a whole bunch of other characters who have become displaced from time and reality who are just ready to join this team whenever any of you die, and a lot of you are going to die. So welcome your new member of the team, female alternate reality Sunfire. So that's what made this book work. That's what made people go, I have to keep reading this. Not only were they constantly going from one reality to another where you didn't know what you would find in there, they swung for the fences every single issue on this thing, but also they established right off the bat, yeah, some of these characters are going to die. And this ain't like the regular Marvel Universe where if someone dies, then hey, way down the road they can come on back. No, this is a series where if someone dies, their body is left on an alternate reality where you are never going to return to. So even if they do come back to life, you're never seeing them again. They're dead to you. So this was a series where you knew the stakes were high. You knew characters were going to die. You would never see them again. And yeah, that continued for this series run. There were many characters who got swan songs. There were many characters who, I won't spoil it because again, I put a link to where you can start reading this series down below. But there were so many times in which I was like, oh, not this one. No, I like this one. Oh, they have to remain around. Oh, come on. And then they were gone. But as I said, this was a series that really swung for the fences, but it wasn't always big, crazy stuff. It wasn't always mind-blowing issues. Sometimes they just chilled out and gave you moments to bond with these characters, and that's what made it so much more emotional when these characters would leave. There are at least 2 issues in the early run of this series that I can remember right off the top of my head in which they didn't have to go and save a giant reality from destroying. They didn't have to go and face some unstoppable monster. They didn't have to go and kill the Dark Phoenix, which actually was one of their first missions. Yeah, again, they swung for the fences in this book. There were several times in this series where it'd be like, hey, good job, as a reward, we're just going to a beach planet where you just get to chill. That's it. You get a little bit of a breather, and they would give you just a whole issue of just the characters bonding with each other, of just them establishing connections with each other, of just you, the reader, establishing connections to them. which, as I said, made it so much more emotional when something horrible would happen to them. This series had some of the best character work I've read in my entire life on a book. It is absolutely worth checking out, not just for the giant missions they went on, but also just for the small moments between these characters. And again, it wasn't even always just giant missions having to tackle impossible odds. Sometimes it would be a really simple, crazy thing. There was one issue, it was one of the most original, unique issues of this entire run, where the book starts with them popping up right outside of this bakery, and it was like, yeah, you just have to go in there and just buy this pastry. That's it? Yeah. Okay then. They went in there, they bought it, and then the Talus, which is this thing that was connected to Blink's arm, and it was basically their guide. It was basically the Ziggy from Quantum Leap. Again, I know 5 people in my audience get that reference, but there you go. It was the thing giving them all their missions, and it was also the thing teleporting them around, and it kind of had its mind of its own. It basically was just like, yeah, we don't even know where it's going to take you or what it's going to do, but it has a plan. As soon as they bought this pastry, it teleported them out. Then, the rest of the issue is this guy goes into this pastry store, and goes, yeah, okay, let me get my usual. Oh, sorry, man, someone just bought. No, I have had too bad of a day. This is the one thing I've been looking forward to all day. And then he pulls out a gun and just starts shooting up the place. Then across town, you see Daredevil trying to talk down this mad scientist who has this crazy weather device that he's going to set off. And then Daredevil hears the gunfire, is like, just wait here, don't set anything off just yet. I have to go and save people all across town. And then he goes across town to try and rescue the people that this guy is trying to shoot up. And then the guy goes, did he just leave? Screw this, I'm activating my weather device. He activates the weather device, but then Thor shows up and goes, aha, Daredevil put in a call to the Avengers before he left, summoning me. Don't worry, I can stop this. But then Thor ends up making the problem even bigger. He ends up causing the weather device to become supercharged and covers the entire planet in a dust cloud where nobody can see anything. It's just blocking out all light, and then the mad scientist just goes, listen man, this thing doesn't even really work. It's not that bad. It'll go away in a day. It's not gonna really be a problem. But then out in space, you see these aliens approaching Earth and they go, oh, we were gonna destroy this entire planet and take it over, but it's not as nice as everyone said. It's just a big dust planet. Screw this, let's keep on moving. So they saved the entire world by buying a pastry. It's one of the most unique original issues of any series I've ever read. That is one of the reasons I freaking love the original Exiles series. So as I said, the Exiles went on for a long period of time. There were some massive changes that happened to the series. I'm just grabbing a lot of stuff from the early days, but it continued being really darn good for a long period of time up until the point when Chris Claremont took over the book. And I know Chris Claremont is a legend in the X-Men world. He is one of the brightest stars in the Marvel Universe. He ended up making the X-Men what they are today. Yeah, man, he ruined this book. His run on that series was bad. I hate saying it, but it was not good at all. I held in there for like 6 issues, but I had to drop it too, and I was a die-hard fan of this series. But Marvel, after all this time, has decided to bring the team back, and I have been waiting on this book to come back. Remember Secret Wars, when alternate realities were being destroyed one after another? I was holding my breath throughout that entire series that the Exiles were going to pop up at some point in time, because preventing stuff like that from happening was kind of the entire reason that they existed, but it didn't happen. So I was like, alright, I guess I'm just never going to see the Exiles again. Guess what? Today, the Exiles are back, and it's being written by Saladin Ahmed, which if you have been watching this channel for a while, you know that name, because he's the guy who's been writing Black Bolt, which is probably one of the best series that Marvel has put out in years. And with this new Exiles series, there are 2 big changes that are coming to the book. The first change is that it's no longer just X-Men characters, which that was the original premise of the series, and I always kind of hated that. I mean, don't get me wrong, the X-Men have a bunch of great characters in there, but if you're picking out any character from alternate realities, why are you going to limit yourself to one team? Shouldn't you just be picking any character that you possibly can? And eventually, way down the road in that original Exile series, they did eventually break away from just being X-Men characters. But with this one, right off the bat, they're letting you know, no, this is not just X-Men characters. In fact, in that roster that we see on the cover of this book, there's really only 2 X-Men characters. They are picking out people from everywhere in here. And the other big change that he is bringing to this book is that they're not just going from alternate reality to alternate reality, they're also jumping around time, which is kind of an interesting idea. It's not that big of a change from the original series, because in the original series they did explain, hey, you don't travel through time, but you are going to alternate realities where time is different, where maybe mankind is 30 years behind where your reality's mankind is. You know, stuff like that. But he says he wants that to be a much bigger thing. He wants to actually go to what looks like our actual past. So I think that could be an interesting thing. We don't really see that in the first issue, but it is something to look forward to in upcoming issues. Now, before I actually give you my opinion on this brand new Exiles series, there's something about the book that I want to talk about. For a while now, I've been saying that Marvel really needs to revamp its advertising department. I've said the way that Marvel advertises its books is not exactly the best. It doesn't exactly get readers to go in there and buy their books. If you've been looking at the ads they've been putting for their series in their books, yeah, they've been talking about all their books, but that's kind of the problem. They've been talking about all their books at the exact same time. They've been advertising 5 or 6 series on a single page, and they've been putting this bland, grayish, or lightly tan background to it that doesn't really capture your eye or let you know what the book is about at all. This is not Exiles issue number 1. However, this is the ad for Exiles number 1 that they have been running for 3 months straight. That's another thing. Marvel tends to advertise a book for 1 month and then never talk about it ever again. This full page gives you a bright, colorful, it pops right out at you. It lets you see exactly what the team is going to look at. It's got a bunch of action going up there. It looks fun. It's got the little tiny description up here. Don't blink or you'll miss it. Oh, that's kind of intriguing. But this is just a damn good looking ad. This is an ad that will make people go, oh, what's that book? It looks fun. It's popping right out at me. It covers the entire page. And also, they have run it for 3 months straight, leading up to the release of the book. Way to go, Marvel. That's a damn good ad. But alright, enough talking about the past, enough talking about the advertising. Let's go ahead and talk about the actual brand new Exiles book that came out today. And this issue starts off with the Unseen up on the moon, doing what the Unseen does, a whole lot of watching. For anybody who does not know who the Unseen is, you know Nick Fury? Not that one, the old Nick Fury. Him? Yeah. You wondering whatever happened to him? Well, if you didn't read Original Sin, what happened is that after he killed the Watcher, all the other Watchers did a thing to him. It was kind of vague and not really explained all that much, but basically, he has now been turned into the new Watcher. He is now this shadowy cloaked figure covered in chains. He is forced to remain on the moon where he cannot interact with anything, and he must just watch all of space and time unfold before him. Not just this reality, but all other realities. Basically, he is the new Watcher. And as Nick Fury, he did nothing but interact and get involved in other people's affairs. Now he is just kind of forced and punished to just watch and not interact. However, as he is standing up there, he is talking about how he has noticed other alternate realities start to disappear. Something is eating realities, and he can't interact with it. He can't warn anyone, but then all of a sudden a portal opens up, and Nick Fury pops in. The younger, not unseen, original flavored Nick Fury walks in. He is badly injured, but he is holding the Talus. That thing that the Exiles always used to use to teleport from one reality to another, that always gave them their very vague missions that they had to go on. Yeah, it has returned, and it has been in the hands of this alternate reality Nick Fury. That Nick Fury dies, and then the Exiles' original leader Blink, who has been living in our reality, which makes sense. I mean, her home reality was the Age of Apocalypse. Why would you want to go back to that? So she has just been chilling here. She has actually been living with this reality's version of her aunt, which seems interesting to me because didn't Blink from this reality come back to life in an X-Men series a couple of years past? Wouldn't she be living with her aunt? I don't know. The X-Men are the weirdest soap opera in comic book history. I'm not going to come in here and wag fingers at who is and who is not alive at this point. So she has been living in this reality with her aunt, and all of a sudden she detects that the Talus has returned. She goes up to the moon, and that's when the Unseen goes, hey, listen, okay, I can't interact with anything, but if you're asking me what's happening, I'll go ahead and tell you, yes, alternate realities are being destroyed, and it kind of sets up that the Unseen is now going to be their new guide, is going to be the person sending the Exiles out on missions, which I'm actually totally okay with, because I know a lot of people who were really upset with the fact that the old Nick Fury got turned into the Unseen, and I fully understand that. I mean, we'll not talk about the fact that it's tied into wanting to make their comics more like the movies, by getting a new Nick Fury in there, that's a whole other thing. But if you were just a fan of Nick Fury, I can fully understand you looking at that and going, that is a terrible way to send off this character that I love. But if you're going to do that to this character, at least keep doing stuff with them. Don't just go, that happened to them, and now they're off in the corner, and we're never going to talk about them, because when they did that to Nick Fury, I was like, alright, well, what's the next thing that's going to happen to him? I don't really enjoy what you did to him, but I'm going to sit back and wait and see what comes next. What are you going to do with him? And then Marvel didn't really do anything at all with him. He's just kind of been chilling up on the moon. He hasn't even really been like the Watcher, where the Watcher would pop up when major things were happening just to go, I'm here, and this is a big thing. The Unseen was unseen. He never did anything. So now, if you are going to have Nick Fury be the Unseen, having him now lead these people on missions, basically just go, alright, this is the next place that you gotta go. Alright, that is kind of keeping in line with Nick Fury and the Watcher kind of together merged into one. I'm actually okay with this. But Blink grabs the Talus, and before she knows what's happening, it immediately teleports her into an alternate reality, and it is a Terminator-style future where mutants and Inhumans are basically being taken out by Sentinels. So yeah, it is a nightmare post-apocalyptic world, and she runs into Khan, who is this grizzled, old, like, Sarah Connor-style character, and it is Kamala Khan. It is the Miss Marvel of this alternate reality future, and she uses her stretching and morphing powers to wrap her hand around Blink and go, yeah, I can read all your vital signs right now. I'm gonna ask you some questions, I'll be able to know if you're lying. That's a pretty cool thing for alternate reality, grizzled badass Miss Marvel to do. I'm going to have to add a lot of adjectives to the front of everyone's name in these descriptions, aren't I? So she realizes that Blink is telling the truth, that she teleports from reality to reality, that multiverses are being destroyed, and then all of a sudden, that reality gets destroyed, and Khan and Blink teleport out of there, and Blink says, listen, there might be a way to bring it back. I've seen this happen before, where realities that were destroyed got brought back, which again, makes me bring up the question, shouldn't we be bringing up what happened in Secret Wars? Shouldn't the Exiles kind of be the one group that remembers, oh yeah, the entire old multiverse was erased and now there's a brand new one? I just want that to be mentioned at some point in time in this series. Show that the Exiles actually do have knowledge that that happened, especially when the thing that they're going up against right now is very similar to that thing that just happened in Secret Wars. I said I wasn't going to yell during any of this, but I think we all knew I wasn't going to keep that promise. I'm going to regret that. So the next place that they are teleported to is the far future, and they end up running into Iron Lad, and they get his entire backstory. For anybody who doesn't know, Iron Lad is a young King the Conqueror. King the Conqueror came to him when he was a little kid and said, listen, maybe if you started conquering realities and times sooner, then you would be able to be completely unopposed. Maybe if you didn't wait as long as I did, then you would have a leg up on the competition, so I'm going to give you this Iron Man armor. Oh shoot, you've decided you don't want to be an evil conqueror, and now you're teleporting away. Great. Yeah, he has had a very interesting history that's played out in the Young Avengers series, especially in the Young Avengers Children's Crusade, which was kind of the moment when he decided, yeah, I'm going to turn evil. This is him before pretty much any of the evil stuff happened, but you can already tell there's some hints of malice in him, and they pick him up, and then they start seeing his reality getting destroyed, and then they see the face of the Time Eater, the thing that has been destroying all these alternate realities. Skip ahead by 10 seconds if you don't want to know what it is. It's a zombie Galactus. Okay, maybe not zombie, but it is like a decaying husk of its former self, just sucking in all of space and time. I don't know what that is, but of course we're not meant to. It is supposed to be the teaser at the end of all this. That's a pretty darn good teaser, because that's the thing about the Exiles series. Like I said, when you picked up that first issue back in 2001, you were reading it, it's like, okay, I like these characters, I'm getting to know them, the artwork's pretty darn good, alright, I'm seeing what's going on here, but not really grabbed me yet. And then there was that cliffhanger at the end of issue number 1 where they run into evil Charles Xavier, and you went, oh, I don't know what's going to happen next. This is a big thing. I want to see what comes in the next issue. That kind of did this for me. Because I'll be totally honest with you, just giving you my complete opinion on this first issue, the pacing of it is kind of all over the place, but I understand why it is. This is a book where they have to assemble an entire team, and not just like the Avengers where they all just happen to show up at one point in time and they all fought the same bad guy and you already knew who all these characters were so you could do it all in a single issue. No, you have to go from place to place picking up every single one of these characters, and every single one of them also has to have a backstory established right there on the spot. It's going to be kind of hard to get all that done right there up front. Like I said, the original Exiles series was able to do it because it just had all those characters just get teleported into one spot. Then they had a guy show up and go, hey, here's the entire premise of this series. So it was able to work for them. However, you can't just copy and paste that. You can't just repeat the thing that the original Exiles series did. You do have to take a different approach to this series. So I understand why the pacing has to be kind of hectic and crazy, because they are literally just going bam, 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 bam. I was reading this on Comixology, so I didn't have the actual physical book in front of me, and when I got to the point where the last page came in and to get that reveal, I looked at that and I went, oh shoot, okay, well let's go ahead and meet the new Valkyrie. Let's meet that new Wolverine. Wait, that's the end of the book? Because yeah, it just moves that fast. I did not think we were at the end of the series yet, because they are just going from one thing into the next. I can't snap my fingers, they were too cold. It's freezing up here in New York, folks. So pacing wise, yes, I did have some problems with this issue. And also, the Blink that we're seeing in this issue, it's not quite the Blink that I was attached to. The Blink that I was attached to, you know, she grew up in a post-apocalyptic world. She was a little bit more serious, whereas this one, it is a little bit more upbeat, youthful, energetic character. She does have a bit more of an attitude. So it's not quite the Blink that I knew, but here's the thing. It's Blink. This ain't Spider-Man. This ain't Iron Man. This ain't Captain America. It is a very obscure X-Men character. I've got an attachment to her, but I understand the general audiences out there, they don't know who she is. They don't care. So yeah, you can totally come in here and redefine her, and this book is being aimed at a younger, more energetic audience. So it's like, alright, you know what? If you need to redefine Blink to make her more in line with the audience that this book is being aimed at, I understand. That's how the business goes, and if you're going to do that with a character, it might as well be a character that not a lot of people really know anything about. So I fully understand it. But aside from that, yeah, I thought this was a fairly positive issue. I really enjoyed seeing the alternate reality Kamala Khan. It made me want to see more stuff like that, see more like creative alternate realities that they could end up coming up with, because the Iron Lad reality, that's one that we all know. It's just the general future, and when we meet him, he basically just gives us his backstory. The Kamala Khan reality, it was like, okay, this is actually new. This is something I haven't seen before. And you do actually get a sense of what that reality is. You do kind of get the tone of it. You do get a feeling of the landscape of it. So if you're going to have a book where people are jumping from one reality to the next, you need a writer who can establish that pretty darn quick, and he proved in this issue that he is capable of that. So you have Solid and Ahmed really proving in here that he can capture the tone and the landscapes of these alternate realities pretty darn quick, and he can come up with some new stuff in here. However, when you go into stuff like the King the Conqueror reality, it's like, alright, I've kind of seen this all before. However, the artist Javier Rodriguez is still able to make all this stuff that I've seen before really darn interesting, because Javier Rodriguez is one of my most underrated artists out there. I absolutely loved his stuff in Spider-Woman. It was one of the best things about that series. This is a guy who actually can do like some Jack Kirby style panel work with the way in which he can just create giant, massive, crazy designs and ways that he won't even use panels. He'll just have an entire story unfold in just one panel, moving from one part of the panel to the other. I'm sure an actual artist out there could come up with an official term for what that is. I'm just gonna call it Kirbyism. However, not to repeat myself, the pacing was a problem, and it did kind of tap down my excitement for the next issue, because it made me realize, oh, the next issue is going to be this all over again because we have to go on to the next dimension and get the next member of our team, and then go on to the next dimension and get the next member of our team, and then the team will be formed. And after it's formed, then the pacing probably won't be a problem because then the team will be formed. You don't have to keep going from place to place to place, picking up new character, introducing their backstory. You will be able to go on actual missions, and you'll be able to dedicate whole issues to those missions. And I think then the book is going to get way more interesting. I know that's not the best thing to say about a book. It's not the best recommendation to say, okay, just wait until the 3rd issue. Nobody wants to hear that. However, I am actually really excited for what is going to happen with this book after the team gets formed and after they do start going on missions for 2 reasons. One is I said that one of the best things about the old Exiles series was the character moments. It was seeing these crazy, unlikely teammates coming together and just forming bonds with each other. It was sometimes issues where they didn't even go on missions. It was just whole issues dedicated to them just talking with each other. And Saladin Ahmed has proven he can do that insanely well. His Black Bolt series was stunning, and one of the things that made it so good were those character moments. This was a book where Black Bolt, King of the Inhumans, formed a very unlikely friendship with the Absorbing Man. 2 people you would never expect to even be in the same room together were now very close friends with each other, and Saladin Ahmed sold that in that book. He made that work in that series. So I'm thinking about what he did in that book and how it could easily translate into this book. Because, as I said, some of the best issues of the old Exile series were ones where they just sat down and talked for an entire issue. He had that happen in his Black Bolt series in an issue where Crusher Creel, the Absorbing Man, and Black Bolt were chained together, and it was just an issue of them sitting together and talking, and it's one of the best things I have read in years. And the other thing that has me really excited for upcoming issues of this new Exile series is the other thing that I said made the old Exile series amazing. The thing that made that series stunning, no matter what writer was on there, it was when those writers said, I'm going to swing for the fences. I'm going to go nuts. And there wasn't really anything that nuts in these first couple of issues. I mean, Sarah Khan or Captain Kamal Khan, yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, haven't seen anything like that. But the big reveal of who the villain was at the end of this made me go, that's the stuff the old Exiles would run into. That's what I was missing in here. So that's the thing that made me go from, alright, I'm kind of 50-50 on this book to, alright, I'm in. That was the big reveal at the end that actually got me excited. However, again, I am speaking to you as an old Exiles fan. And one of the things that so many people have been promoting with this book is it's so new reader friendly. It is absolutely friendly for new readers out there. I honestly want to know what people think, because I was reading this, and like I said, they changed Blink around to make her more new reader friendly. It's like, alright, I understand that. But like, they don't really explain much of anything in here. I mean, they do stop and they tell you like, oh, this is the Talus, this is the thing. But it's all just, okay, I went on this mission with this thing, and then that happened, and I was leading this whole team. I was like, okay, they're explaining it for the new readers, but it is a ton of info dump at the beginning of this. It is a whole lot of, here's all the backstory. And I'm wondering how new readers are going to feel about that. I, as a fan of this book and this team who have not been referenced in a long time, I was excited to see that. I was excited to go, oh my gosh, someone remembers this team and they remember all the details, and now reading this, I'm remembering all the details of this old team. But it does make me wonder, what are all the new fans going to think? What are all the new readers going to think about this? So I can't judge that because I'm not a new reader, but if you are new to the Exiles books, or to Marvel Comics in general, let me know in the comments down below or on Twitter at twitter.com/ProfessorThorgy what you thought about the first issue of the new Exile series. I really am interested what people who are new to this franchise are going to think. But alright folks, that's my take on the new Exile series. Again, let me know what you thought about this issue, and if you never read the old Exile series and you want to check it out, again, follow the link in the description down below. You can go to Amazon through that link and you can pick up the original trade either physically or digitally on Comixology going through that link, or you can pick up anything else that you want on Amazon, and anything that you buy on Amazon starting going through that link gives me a tiny percentage of it, and that will help this channel out a whole lot. That's going to be something that we're going to start doing more often on this channel in these videos. So if you ever need to do any shopping on Amazon, make sure to go through one of those links. It really does help us out. But thank you guys very much. Again, you can follow me on Twitch, Twitter, Tumblr, all the T-word social media sites at Professor Thorgy. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Come back next time. Bye.